lovelies. It's me, Maple. And today we're going to have quite a rambly video because I have a huge announcement that I'm very, very excited for. Very excited for. As with most of my rambling videos, I'll be brushing your face because I always find that's the easiest for me to talk and talk and talk during. As in, I don't need to put a lot of thought towards the brushing. But before we get to the announcement, I just wanted to give a quick shout out because you may have noticed I have a fancy new little intro and banner, which are so adorable. But those were made by Ben, who's been a long, long time follower and supporter of this channel. And so yeah, I'm wearing the same outfit from the banner. Although notably without the necklace, which is a bird stamp necklace I used to have, which was my favorite necklace for a few reasons. But I lost it. And so when I was telling Ben what outfit I wanted for the banner, for the cute little me, I was like, please put in my necklace that I no longer have so I can remember it. So, at least I have evidence of the necklace somewhere. But yeah, thank you to Ben. He obviously put so much care into it. There were multiple times where I would give him edits for the intro that I thought were very simple edits. And he would do them. And he would be like, yeah, that was actually a lot more complicated than you think it was. And I'm like, oh no. So thank you, Ben, for all the effort and care that you obviously put into that. But yeah, I hope you guys like the intro. I had the idea for the little leaf banging its head and then falling asleep for a while. So it was so interesting and really cool to see like my idea for such a long time actually physically there, since I'm not the best artist, so had to get someone else to do it. But on to my big news. So a few weeks ago now, I think, I had made a video, a role play where I was kind of checking you in for a wellness retreat. And I mentioned in the description that it was an idea that I would love to do someday. Well, I have decided I'm going to start going ahead with that idea and start putting together a business plan for it, which I know is a huge undertaking. I know it's going to be a lot of time and effort and work, And I know, like, with most projects like this, it's going to be more time, more effort, and more work than I could possibly imagine right now. But I honestly, truly believe that I have all the tools to make this happen. So for those of you who don't know, I spent most of my 20s working in hospitality and specifically tourism. I worked a lot of different roles. I worked back of house, that's where I started. Then I moved to kitchen management. Then I moved to front of house and front of house management. I've worked for luxury tourism. I've worked for high volume cafeterias. I've worked for fancy restaurants. I've worked back of house, front of house, every kind of role you could possibly imagine. At my peak, I guess, as a manager, I believe I had 120 employees underneath me that I looked after. And at that restaurant, we would sometimes bring in $100,000 in sales in one day, where I was the top front of house person on that day. So I do have experience with working in very large establishments. But on top of that, I've also gotten my MBA, specifically in international tourism and hospitality management. And on top of that, my dad is also, he's retired now, but he was a CFO, the head accountant for a company, so he can definitely help me with the nitty-gritty financial stuff that I know the basics of because of my MBA, but obviously there's a lot of stuff there that he'll just know from, you know, however many years as an accountant he's been, because he worked that one job his whole life. So yeah, he knows a lot about business, a lot about finance. But yeah, I guess going way back, I've always wanted to own my own business. I've always wanted to kind of make, not necessarily a business, I've always wanted to like make my mark on the world, I guess. It's always been a dream of mine to have something I can point to and be like, I made this. And it's successful. For the longest time, I had wanted to open a board game cafe, because my background was in restaurants specifically, and I love board games. But even more than that, I think the reason why I wanted a board game cafe over another type of restaurant was this idea of community. Because I feel like at a board game cafe you can, have events and you can more have conversations with the customers that matter, because, you can ask them what their favorite games are. Here's my favorite game. You could even sit down with them for a game. I had ideas of, having themed nights, like singles nights, and everyone gets a name tag, and we would open a couple games where like very easy, to meet people while doing an activity. I had an idea of doing a introduction to D&D night every week where we would just do a one-off campaign, because, you know, I've always been interested in D&D, and I feel like a lot of people it can be hard to get into because A, you have to find a campaign with other people. With a DM, nobody wants to be the DM. Or at least it's hard to find someone who wants to be the DM. But on top of that, like, having this commitment of having to go every week or twice a month or whatever it is, a lot of people just don't have that commitment. So to have like a one-off campaign that you just show up that week, it's over and done. I always love that idea. But yeah, all that being said, the point is that I feel like this idea of community was always very, very key in what I wanted my future business to look like, even if I hadn't like put my finger on it at that point. And then COVID happened, and I saw all these businesses that, you know, they had done everything right. Like, they had done their research, they had a very good product, you know, they served good food, the customers loved them. Suddenly a lot of these businesses were going bankrupt because of something completely outside of their control. And for those of you who don't know, the margins for restaurants are very small a lot of the times. There are exceptions, but for the most part, restaurants don't make that much money, and to have to go months and months paying utilities and not having any income, a lot of them just couldn't survive. So when COVID happened, I kind of took a step back and I was like, oh, maybe I don't want to risk my future livelihood on something that could very easily not work or very easily go bankrupt for a reason outside of my control. And oh, there goes my life savings and all my future dreams. So yeah, I kind of was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't own a restaurant at that point. And that's kind of when I started this channel, because, you know, I can do whatever I want. It's very adaptable. And, you know, the overhead is very little. It's whatever you want the overhead to be, basically, whenever you feel comfortable buying new equipment, whenever you feel comfortable buying new props. But, you know, there are ways to, you know, do it like lo-fi before you have the money for that. So yeah, I kind of poured all my heart and my time into this channel. And for a while I was happy with, you know, just the channel being my life's work, I guess. Or, you know, like I said, the way I put my mark on the world. Because the other thing too that I've always wanted with whatever I decided to do with my life is I've always had this philosophy of trying to leave the planet slightly better, at least, than the way you found it. And I do feel like my channel is good. It helps people. I get, you know, messages and emails all the time from people saying how I've helped them, and that's the most rewarding part of what I do, is knowing that I've, you know, helped someone get to sleep or get over an issue they've been having or whatever it is. But yeah, so for a while I was super happy with this being my thing, because it is, you know, expandable and scalable and adaptable, and, you know, I have full creative control, so I could do whatever I wanted. And so I could change it potentially in the future for whatever I wanted it to be. And then last year, I had started getting into mindfulness and meditation. I was going through a particularly hard time in my life. I've done a full write-up about that period of my life on my Patreon, like the free version of my Patreon. I do these weekly journal updates. So if you are interested, you can go and find my write-up there. But yeah, I was going through a particularly hard time in my life, and I had started really doing research into mindfulness and meditation. And yeah, the fact that I had started this journey in a particularly hard time of my life, it really helped me deal with that as I was going through it. And I feel like once I got through to the other side, I suddenly had all these tools, because I really had to put them to work for a while there. And I feel like I came out the other side very strong and sure of myself and confident in myself, and loving of myself in ways that I hadn't really been ever before in my life. So yeah, it definitely changed my life, which sounds so corny, but it did. And I guess that was the moment that I started really thinking about, like, how can I share this with other people? And not necessarily just mindfulness and meditation, but just wellness in general. I realized how important it is, and how much it can change your life to actually care about yourself and put effort into improving yourself. So yeah, I had the idea for, a wellness centered thing for a while. And then, like I said, I did the video a few weeks ago, and in my head I was like, well, this will be a good opportunity for me to do some research, do the fun big idea planning, and like think of different ideas. And it was a lot of fun, like thinking, like, how would I want to do this? How would I do this differently? Like that kind of stuff. And while I was researching, I just got so excited about this idea. And I was like, okay, well, sometimes I get excited about things, and then the next week I've moved on to something else. But I just kept thinking about it, and I kept thinking of new ideas and new things I would love to do. And even after I had published the video, I was still thinking of new ideas and new things I would love to do. So I then did a little bit of market research, and there was really only one real direct competitor in Ontario, which is where I am now. And even then, it's a little bit different than how I would plan on doing my wellness retreat. And so, that if anyone knows business, that's one of the biggest things, is to make sure that there's a gap for the thing that you want to do. And yeah, the fact that there's really only one direct competitor, And even then, like I said, like mine would be pretty different. So there is the room. You know, wellness is incredibly trendy, and I feel like it also just works well with Ontario. Like the brand of wellness works well with Ontario because, you know, we have beautiful, huge areas that can feel very, very, very far away from, you know, society and big cities. So you feel more with nature. You know, it's a retreat. You're retreating from society and, you know, the hustle and bustle of daily life. And it does feel secluded in a lot of areas of Ontario. We have, you know, clean water, tons of clean water. You want some clean water? Come to Ontario. We've got lots. Yeah, so like I said, the space was there for the business. And also, like I said earlier, I had all the tools, at least I feel like, to do this project and to do it well. And like I said, I cannot express how passionate I am about this project. And yeah, I don't know what words to say, but I am incredibly passionate about this, and I just feel in my bones like I can make this successful. So yeah, it's obviously still very, very, very early days. I'm still just at this point doing broad research and like broad financials. My current plan is to spend this next year doing research and putting together a formal business plan. And then I would start to be looking for investors. So that's gonna take many different forms because I'm planning on different tiers of investing and different times of investing. It could be something as little as, you know, $10, and then you get your name on a plaque in the front room, or it could be actual investors who want to give a big sum of money in return for a financial gain. But that's in the future, so we're gonna worry about that then. And then the plan would be to hopefully find a property that already has a building that can be used as the main building, at least for now. And so then we would have to do a little bit of building, ideally in the spring of 2026. And the hope would be to open a soft opening at some point in the summer of 2026. So a little ways down the road, but actually not that far when you think about the scale of what I'm attempting to open. So some of you may be wondering, why are you telling us now, Maple? This is so far in advance. Well, I have a notorious habit of not keeping myself accountable when I have to get myself to do work. So the main idea of me telling you guys now is it puts the pressure on myself to hold myself accountable. Because if I know that other people are aware of the idea, it's easier for me to convince myself to do the work, if that makes sense. So this video is as much for me as it is for you, basically. I also wanted to mention that I'll be posting about my journey on, like I mentioned, the free version of my Patreon, where I do my little journal updates. So if you are interested in my business journey, including the boring part with spreadsheets and graphs and fiscal reports and woo, that whole fun bag of stuff. But there will be actual fun stuff, ideas and whatnot. So you can go over to my free Patreon and stay up to date with my little journey there. And then I also wanted to mention that, not now because it is just, vague planning, so I can fit it in wherever I have time, but obviously at some point in the future, if I am doing this, it will cut down on time for my channel. But I wanted to be very, very clear that this channel is so important to me, and there's no way that I'm just going to give it up at any point. There may be times where I don't post as frequently. Maybe I have to scale back to one video a week for a little while. Maybe I'll have to sporadically post videos for a while until I kind of, feel a lot more comfortable about everything. Because, like I said, with these kinds of things, it's always bigger and more stress and more work than you think it's going to be. But I'm vowing to you guys that I will always put in the effort for this channel to keep it going. I feel like it's become such a big piece of who I am, and I couldn't possibly just stop. And once the company is more solid in how it's running, I'll pick the pace back up for the channel, and then I'll be able to do lots of cool stuff, like show you guys what some of the sessions are. I'm sure we'll have lots of specialists and, staff who can do collaborations with. I think there'll be lots of cool stuff to do for the channel. So what else? So some of you may be wondering, what makes your idea so special compared to what already exists out there? There are a lot of wellness retreats, and there are a lot of retreats that do different aspects of what I'm trying to do. But I think to me, like, the key things that I'm imagining for my eventual wellness retreat is the idea that it is more personal, more tailored to the individual person. So in the role play that I did, one of the big things I mentioned was that, for each morning and for each afternoon, there were 4 or 5 activities that you could choose from, and there would be a schedule. So I'm thinking there would be, one physical thing, like maybe a hike. There would be one mental thing, like maybe group therapy or meditation. Maybe a softer physical thing like yoga, and then some sort of artistic option like a drum circle or dance therapy. So for each time slot of the day, there would be like a few different options for what you could do in that time slot, because I feel like a lot of these wellness retreats, everything's on a very specific schedule, and it's like 9 a.m. is yoga, and then 10 a.m. is meditation, and then 11 is free time, and 12 is when lunch is served, that kind of stuff. But I love the idea of being able to choose what what you feel like you need in that moment, I feel like it gives a lot more agency to yourself, and it shows you that you can find wellness for yourself in a way that resonates for you, because I feel like wellness is the kind of thing where it doesn't look like the same thing for everyone. Everyone has different histories and different needs, and what works for me, what makes me feel good about myself isn't necessarily going to work for you. So, for me to just make a schedule of, well, this makes me feel good at the end of the day, you might be like, I don't need that. And then I also really want to focus on the holistic element of wellness, which I know that's a overused buzzword right now, holistic, which just means the whole. So I want to focus on like mind, body, spirit, like everything that goes into wellness. And I don't want to be one of those places that's just new age hippie mumbo jumbo. Here's what's ever trendy right now, put you on your way, and that's that. I do also want to have licensed therapists, like actual specialists in the field who know what they're talking about, who know what they're doing. And so not only that, having actual licensed therapists, which I think is very, very key as well when we're talking about wellness and mental health. I also want to focus on giving people tools that they can use once they've left the retreat. Because I feel like a lot of the times when we do these self-help things, or help with other sources things, like if we read a self-help book, you get to the end of the book and you might feel so inspired and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna be a better version of myself, I'm gonna do this, this, and this. And then you might slip up once, or maybe it just kind of fizzles out, and then nothing really changes. You just kind of revert back to the way you were before. So yeah, I really want to focus on making habits, giving tools to people so that they can continue, their wellness journey about loving themselves and being good to themselves even after they've left the retreat. And so, like any of these things, it will cost an amount of money. I'm planning on doing, trying to do a kind of hostel option, ideally, so that, there is an option that is a little bit cheaper for people who can't afford a huge wellness retreat. But I think that the product that we can offer will be worth the money, because it's not just, a week or a 2-week retreat and you feel recharged by the end of it, you feel motivated, and then the next 2 weeks you're motivated and then it kind of fizzles out. I do hope that we can offer a product that people can carry with them for the rest of their lives. And I'm not naive. I know that not every person is gonna walk out of their life changed, but if we can help any amount of people, that's the dream, really. Like I said, to just leave the world in a slightly better place. Yeah. And then I think another thing that is really exciting about this idea is the way that we can add new things and try new things. And, once we hit the ground running and get a bit more stable, then we can add in more things. Like I would really, really love to bring in a full-time gardener and chef who can focus on like farm to table, where, you know, we grow our own crops on the property and then we make food. And, you know, we can point out to the people like, yeah, we had, you know, this salad tonight and we grew the kale on the property. Maybe you don't like kale, so we'll have another option for you. But we can be like, we grew the lettuce right there. You know, we can point to the flower bed that it came out of. But yeah, I feel like there's so much about this that excites me. And I hope some of you are somewhat excited by the idea too. I'm trying to think. I've been rambling for a while and I'm trying to think if there's any key things I'm missing. But I think that is everything for now. If you do want to follow along with my business journey, you are more than welcome to join the free version of my Patreon. And yeah, I'll be making updates there in my weekly journal posts. And then, like I said, I'm not even close to the point of asking for investors. But if this does sound like an idea that you would potentially want to be a big investor for in the future, you know, please reach out to me. My email's down below. And, you know, if you have any questions, or, you know, if you want to be a part of the process in a way, I would love to hear from you. But yeah, I'm so beyond excited for this. Like I said, I just can't express how much this means to me, and the idea that I can be making an impact, a positive impact on the world is just, it fills me with a lot of joy. But yeah, I hope that got you guys excited. Maybe I'll see you guys in a couple of years. Once we open up the property, I would love to see you out there. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is a gentle reminder to take off your headphones or turn down the volume, since there might be a loud ad soon. And if you enjoyed this video, you should definitely go like, comment,